Good morning again. It's Devora. It's my second video about physical immortality and long life, hundreds of years. Okay, so I just started to speak about what happens in Israel in terms of physical immortality, more or less from what I know. And I started to speak to you about this idea to begin with, and is it doable? Maybe it's just, it sounds like nothing reliable, that they lived for so many years. It doesn't sound reliable, the biblical ones, How come? Oh my God. No, just a minute. Like I said, I didn't need it. Now the light is better. So, how come someone live for hundreds of years, thousands of years, if we have the same biology? Nothing changed. Within a few thousand years, your biology doesn't change. So what happened? Or unless it's just stories, it's just people back then had wild imagination, and they didn't count the years like we do. Maybe they had different counting. Many philosophies about how come those biblical people lived for hundreds of years. One of the most famous stories in the Bible is the story about Samson, Shimshon, the hero. I don't know how many years he lived, probably hundreds too. But something was different about him. So, of course, everyone remember Shimshon, Samson, as the hero, as the strong man that could make a whole building collapse just by pushing the walls. He had superpower, like a Superman. This is how he is remembered, a Superman. But the story, the big story, I'm reminding you, the Bible, it's not exactly what happened. And many times it's not a story about one person, it's a story about a few people that had similar experiences, and it became a myth, all right? But the myth is something to listen to. It's just in a metaphor. Don't accept it just the way it is most of the time. But the myth, the whole story of Samson, Shimshon, is that they never cut his hair. He never cut his hair. And then the story with Delilah, that she tried to actually sell him to his enemies, She deceived him. The woman, I think she was pretty. And then they cut his hair. And once they cut his hair, in prison, I think, so he lost his power, his superpower. So how come Shimshon, lived, even if he only lived for 60 years, never cut his hair? Do you know what happened after 15 years you don't cut your hair? 20? It became long rastas. Especially back then, they didn't have a hairbrush even. Now, if Samson, the hero, would have had like a 10-meter long rastas, someone would have mentioned it. One of the people that wrote the Bible, they would have mentioned it. So he never cut his hair. However, his hair didn't grow. Otherwise, again, long, long, long rastas that you can play rope with, when you were children. And he didn't have them. So it means his hair, from some reason, stopped growing. He didn't have to shave either. His hair on the face, the hair on his body stopped growing. And then he never cut his hair, but never had infinite rastas. What can make your hair stop growing? Let's even not speak about the Superman part, when he destroys everything, the building with his hands doing everything collapse. My soul will die with the Palestinians of today. God is forbidden, never mind. So, we won't mention that for the meantime. Just the fact that he lived for a long, long time, probably hundreds of years, and they never cut his hair. He never cut his hair, and it didn't grow. Now, the mechanism of aging is responding to human consciousness, but not for the individual consciousness, for the global one. You are surrounded by consciousness of people that are counting the minutes. Since the invention of the clock, I think that people lived at least half of the time they used to live before. Forget about what the scientists are telling you. The invention of the clock destroyed humanity. It's a bad thing that happened to humans. The clock destroyed everything spontaneous, everything being, the whole idea of being. The clock took it. Now there's doing. There's no being anymore. So, same DNA as we have lived at least 10 times longer than us, some of them. His hair never grew. Imagine the idea. The hair stopped growing. 1 year, 2 years, the same hair. It doesn't grow. You shave your hair and it doesn't grow anymore. What can cause such a phenomenon? The only thing that can cause such a thing is when the time stops. Yes, the global consciousness continue counting the time and being in these cycles of time. But once you are deep inside about this, Satori, you are out of the time dimension. and reality respond to you in a bizarre way. You become an anomaly, like big in Matrix or something. Back then, there were no interruptions. If someone entered the paradise, they could stay there. They didn't have to go out. Now you cannot do that. Definitely not in the ordinary society. It's temporary. You'll have to jump down from the cloud. Society will not allow you to stay there. They might hospitalize you as a crazy person. They cannot have someone in such a high frequency around. It's too much. It's pushing too many buttons. So, once a person is in this completely different stage of consciousness, awakeness you call it, some, not all of them, only small amount of people that enter the paradise get there. They get to a point when they're completely out of the time dimension, and time dimension go crazy in the physical reality. So I told you I'm going to share something personal. And I told you it's going to sound like science fiction, but I've already discussed science fiction, so it's fine. This is something that happened to me on my second shift. It was almost 3 years in a shift. And I was out of the time dimension. I had so many things happening, I'll just mention that. I was out of the time dimension. It means that bizarre phenomena started happening, but bizarre. If it wasn't my second shift, and if I wasn't like a shaman before, I can understand how people go crazy if it might happen to them. I can definitely understand how you go crazy. Lucky for me, I had enough knowledge. There is a holiday, a Jewish holiday. It is called Lag BaOmer. Lag BaOmer is a holiday when people light fire outside. You know, you sit around the fire, you collect woods. Before this holiday, you see the children everywhere collecting branches and woods and everything, okay? It's everything you can burn for this holiday. It's a great holiday. As children, you really like this holiday. You stay awake all night long around the fire. You sing songs. You eat potatoes from the fire. It's a very nice one. As a child, everyone likes this holiday. So, as an adult, I didn't celebrate it too much. A lot of work to make the fire. So it was that holiday. It was Lag BaOmer. I was living in like the third floor in some building. And I was looking down, you know, from the window. I could see the children collect the woods everywhere, you know, create the preparation for the fire. And holiday is about to come. And then the holiday arrived. It was the evening. And everyone lighted the fire. Everyone. It was beautiful. I looked through the window. I put my clothes on. I remember what I wore. It was like a light blue jumper. And I went outside to look at at the fire. And it was so nice. And I spoke to the children and told them, have a nice holiday. And there was a place that was open. I had something to eat and drink. It was very nice. Nice holiday. It's a 2 days holiday. And then it was ended, and that's it, 2 weeks later, I look outside of my window and I see children are collecting woods. Now I'm looking at them and I'm thinking, hey, they probably didn't have the chance to burn all of the woods. They probably collected too many woods. So they're trying either to throw it away or they're going to make a fire just to get rid of it because they didn't had the chance to do it on Lag BaOmer. It was the only possible idea why I could think of why the children downstairs are just collecting woods and creating like a shape of a fire. But then I've looked around and I've seen that there are others doing the exact same thing. I didn't think about it too much, but then the evening came and then I started smelling fire. I looked outside the window, fires everywhere. Put my clothes on. This time it was an orange jumper. And I went outside to see what on earth is going on. It was Lag BaOmer. I asked the people. It was Lag BaOmer again. 2 weeks later, there was another Lag BaOmer. Nobody remembered, just me. I even remember what I wore. Now you can say maybe I imagined, I fell asleep, I dreamt. No, I didn't. Because I had to wash my clothes twice, and my washing machine was broken, so I had to do it with both hands because of the smell of the fire. So that was one example to something that happened to me. Another one, I left for the supermarket to buy soy milk. It was 8 o'clock in the morning. Now, I don't trust the digital clocks. After you are going through things, you don't trust those digital things. You put the old ones, the clocks with the battery, this one. And a few, you don't even trust just one. You put a few. It was 8 o'clock in the morning. Went downstairs. Shops were just opening, the people were just opening the shops. 8 o'clock in the morning. I was walking. I knew everyone. Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. Went to the supermarket. 5 minutes walk. It took me 5 minutes to take the soy milk and bread and a few things that I needed and go to pay. And then a 5 minutes walk back home. Let's say half an hour, let's say I was very slow altogether. I returned home. Once I was going through the same street, I just been to the supermarket for 5 minutes. Now I'm going back. The weather is different. Now they are starting to close the shops. It's 4 or 4:30 in the afternoon. I check. I ask people on the street, hey, what's the time? What's the time? I ask 10 people. What happened? I don't know. You wake up, you know it's Wednesday. You ask 20 people, you want to be sure because bizarre things are happening to you. It's Wednesday. You know it's Wednesday. You live Wednesday. You do things on Wednesday. You remember exactly what you've done on Wednesday. You go to sleep, you wake up. Next morning, it's Wednesday again. Nobody remembers it was Wednesday yesterday. And you ask people yesterday, is it Wednesday today? Sure. But they don't remember they saw you yesterday and you asked this question. They don't know what you are talking about. So, when I speak about no time dimension and it creates like a bag in the matrix and bizarre things are happening and most people that enters the paradise without knowing what's gonna happen are going crazy due to things like that. Now, once you're out of the time dimension, those bizarre things might happen to you. Definitely, probably they will. Another thing that happened to me, another thing that made me understand the whole idea of physical immortality and living for hundreds of years. Once I was in the paradise, it was not just dreams, it became way more real than dreams, okay? It was visions, it was real, it was real. And I had like a vision or a dream that a character, someone like a teacher, something is spiritual, explained to me that my DNA is changing and that it will affect my aging. Now, I didn't understand exactly what it means. But then I was in a completely different stage of consciousness for a few months. I think it was like 4 months that I was gone, actually. Trying to figure out things that human mind is incapable of figuring out. And then I started noticing a bizarre thing. You know, every person has a certain speed. The way your hair grows, your eyebrow, mustache, the legs, you know, how often do you need to shave your legs? How often do you need to dye your hair because you have some white hair and you see it grow? Okay? Each one has its own, like, hair growth speed. Right? So my speed was that at least once in 4 days, I had to do my eyebrows, shave my legs, okay? And every 2 weeks, I had to dye a certain area in my hair when it becomes white on the side. So I had to dye it every 2 or 3 weeks. Top 3 weeks, you'd see the white hair. And then I'm noticing that I fixed my eyebrows once. And it stays like that. And I shaved my legs and it doesn't grow anymore. Not after a week, not after 2 weeks, not after 3 weeks. It doesn't grow. So in those 4 months, I think I shaved my legs maybe twice and maybe fixed my eyebrows twice. It didn't grow. And I didn't have to dye my hair because it didn't turn white because it didn't grow at all. It stayed the same. The hair, it stopped growing once I was out of the time dimension, deep inside the paradise, and bizarre things started to happen to me. It just stopped growing. And I was thinking about these biblical stories, Samson from the Bible, and then I went to the mall and there was like a stand there of Bet Chabad, religious people putting tefillin on man. It was like someone that studied to be a rabbi, started speaking to him. And he took the Bible and he told me, and I told him that I'm a tunneler and I also do readings of cards. I'm not doing it anymore, but I told him I used to do that. So he said, why do you need those tarot cards? You have the Bible. Do the same. Instead of, putting a card, open the Bible, you'll get a message. I looked at him, I said, fine, he gave me a Bible. I just opened the Bible, randomly, and it was the story about Samson, the hero. So, if you are seeking for some reason, some logical explanation to the idea that it's doable to live for hundreds of years or live forever or something like that, you have to start opening your mind about time dimension and about what it means to age, and let go of science, because most of what you have is scientism and it's not science to begin with, so don't bother believing them too much. In this video, I'll probably make another one. It's an important subject, life. It was Devora, the Hebrew prophet / shaman. See you later. Bye-bye.